Hey everybody. Well, we're in a new year right now, 2021. Man, 2020 was something, am I right? Now, I honestly don't want people to keep getting too much about 2021. I mean, we're still just the beginning of the year. Hopefully, we'll get something good, a lot of good stuff to come out of this year. Because I think some people are saying, nothing good came out of 2020. I got something to say about that. You're wrong. 2020 did have a pretty rough time for people, but that doesn't mean that nothing good came from this year, because there were actually a lot of things we can admire from 2020. So much so that I can't do a full top 10 list on it. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's how good it is. So what am I going to do a top 10 on for 2020? Well, I decided to talk about some good stuff that happened in 2020 that has to do with movies and shows. I guess I call this top 10 movie and show related things that happened in 2020. This list is going to be ranked off of moments I think have really surprised us and got us through a rough year like 2020. Now, this is mostly going to contain of shows that are consist of adapted or sequel from something else. Like, we're not really going to include original movies or original shows that come out this year that have no past elements. This is just going to be a list. This list is going to be showing us, I'm going to show you moments from movies and TV shows that really that brought us back to something we remember before in a good way. A really good way. And surprised us in a good manner. So without further ado, this is just a list of my top 10 great movie and TV related moments to happen in 2020. Let's get this list started. The South Park Pandemic special that released. Now, if you're a big South Park fan, this is a big surprise. I mean, I'm a fan of South Park. I can enjoy this. When the South Park Pandemic special was announced, fans really knew what this was coming. South Park is mostly known for taking on moments that are happening in the world, like moments that have to do with companies or stars or celebrities or a bunch of other things, and mock them, make them funny, enjoyable to look for the South Park story. And so it's only obvious they take on the pandemic that we've gone through, and that's what they did. They just brought back South Park in a good way. South Park hasn't really been playing many episodes of 2020 until now when we got this. This gave us the story of what's going on in the pandemic and just gave us that story with the South Park elements. So there's Randy, the father-in-law. He wants to make special deals because of the pandemic, and wants to make them for money and stuff. Okay, it's hard to say, but he's doing this for the pandemic. There's also the Cartman side, where Cartman doesn't want to go back to school handling from what's new, like restrictions, mask restrictions, all that shit. A lot of stuff happens in this episode. It's actually 1 hour long episode, which is something you don't see very often for South Park. But South Park did it in a way that brought back South Park, as well as make something as serious as the pandemic fun to watch. If you're a South Park fan. I mean, I don't really sit through so much of it, but I can enjoy it. I still like what they gave us. The only problem with this special is that it made fans want more from South Park, want more specials. So now fans, whenever South Park is talked about, all fans are saying is, we want more South Park episodes, more South Park episodes. So really, I think this special kind of did a favor for itself. Now I think Trey Parker and Matt Stone have to get to work on some new stuff. Either way, South Park worked with this special. It really did. The Animaniacs remake. When you mostly think of a cartoon remake or a show remake, what comes in mind is failure. Mostly failure comes in mind because they always just try to be as goofy and stupid as possible. Well, the thing is, Animaniacs is already goofy and stupid. Well, not like stupid in a good way, like stupid in a funny way. So, making a remake, just making that element would make it work. It was fun to hear the announcement because we knew it was going to be the same, and it was. It gave us some cool, nice animation that brings us back to the 90s. A lot of the jokes bring us back to the 90s. Like, literally the first episode just pretty much got us used to the Animaniacs. Like, it was 30 minutes long, but it felt much longer because it because we just remember what made the original Animaniacs so much fun. This just brings that back just in a new form because it is able to give us what we enjoyed. Like all the characters, all the out jokes and stuff. Literally, the first episode literally has a song called Reboot Is. It's just like a song talking about remakes. They're literally taking on elements like what South Park did. We just talked about that. And of course, there were the other side characters from the show, like Pinky and the Brain and all that. The only problem is that's it. They only have Pinky and the Brain back. None of the other side characters returned. Hopefully, as the show goes on, they come back. But for now, we're just doing with V's Free and Pinky and the Brain. Oh, and he also when you watch the first episode, the first thing to come is the promo for the show, which is literally just a Jurassic Park parody. That's incredible. I love it. This show definitely bring our childhood classic back, and we all love it. I hope more episodes come out with more elements, but for now, I like what I saw. The release of Peacock. A lot of TV networks nowadays are trying to get back into the streaming media, or trying to get to the streaming so more people will watch them, as it seems streaming has started becoming more popular. So that's what NBC's doing. Peacock is a streaming service to come out for NBC shows and movies. Now, you can either get Peacock for free, but the best way to watch Peacock is to get the premium, because it comes with more stuff and has less flaws. The free version has some flaws, and not everything's on there. What Peacock consists are a bunch of fun shows to watch from NBC, as well as a bunch of fun movies to watch from Universal. And I gotta be honest, I think Peacock knows how to do it, because it definitely grew in popularity as time went on, as they started thinking of more stuff to add and give us more variety from what they got. It's giving us fans. If you don't watch NBC a lot, well, you could get Peacock. I mean, Peacock's more people who love NBC and love like stuff like Today Show or Saturday Night Live or E.T. or all that stuff. If you're a fan of Universal movies and NBC shows, get Peacock. If you're not a fan of NBC, well, just stick to some other stuff. There's other cool streaming services out there. The thing with Peacock, though, is that there are some shows that are already on, like Netflix, that are going to have to be taken off of Netflix to add to Peacock. Like, let's say The Office, for example. The Office is coming to Peacock this year, but that means they're taking it off of Netflix and putting it on. So that's kind of sad. But either way, it definitely will bring more variety to this and definitely give NBC a better name. Let's just hope that's true. The Bad Boys for Life movie. Now, just a reminder, like I said earlier, this list is only going to... When there's a movie and TV show on this list, that's going to mean movies and TV shows that are either remakes, adaptations, or sequels. And so we have Bad Boys for Life, a sequel to the Bad Boys movies. The original Bad Boy movie came out in 1995, and it was honestly pretty successful. It gave it popularity with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, giving us some fun action comedy that we haven't seen before. We have seen action comedy before, but the way they did it was different. So it makes it much cooler. Not better, but cooler. There was a Bad Boys sequel. I don't remember what year it came out, but it was kind of popular too. It did return Bad Boys in a good way. And it's been a while since they haven't made a third movie, until now in 2020, where Bad Boys for Life releases. The sequel that brought the characters, the humor, the kick-ass moments back to the big screen. Yeah, this came out before the pandemic became big, so you were able to watch this in theaters perfectly fine. Bad Boys for Life definitely worked, and it's actually the highest grossing movie of the year, which honestly isn't saying much, seeing how, this year. But to be honest, I think Bad Boys for Life definitely knows what it was doing, and definitely brought Bad Boys fans what they deserve. So, if you are a fan of the Bad Boys franchise, you should definitely check this out. But if you are a fan of the Bad Boys franchise, I'm pretty sure you already did. Even if you're not a fan of Bad Boys, you definitely should check out the franchise so you can experience all three movies, with this one being another one of those great ones. Borat Sequel. Alright, here's another sequel from a comedy classic we all love. The original Borat film from 2006 was made as a mockumentary, as it was consist of a character named Borat, created by Sacha Baron Cohen, a character that definitely made for some great humor, and made the entire Borat movie have a hard-to-follow story, but a easy-to-follow sense of humor. if you haven't seen Borat and you're a fan of comedy movies, I think Borat's definitely for you. It's definitely for me. I'm a fan of comedy. And so, of course, a sequel would have to be made. And it's not until 2020 when the sequel was made. And since it is 2020, the sequel went straight to Prime Video. It didn't actually release in theaters, sadly. It probably wouldn't have released in theaters, seeing how I guess comedies nowadays aren't like this. But, I mean, come on. It has to have been released in theaters. We have to see the theater experience. Borat was made with the bringing back the great humor we love from the original film. Sorry, I have a cough. While adding some new stuff to fit with the year, because most of this movie is set in 2020. So we see Borat handle the stuff that's happening in 2020, like the election, the pandemic. He actually interacts with that kind of stuff. Okay, maybe a little too serious at times, but overall, if you are a fan of the original Borat, you'll definitely be a fan of this Borat. Sacha Baron Cohen returned, and that's really all you need. If you have Baron Cohen returning for the role, that's just what automatically makes it a funny movie. If you brought someone else in the role, that would automatically make it a bad movie. But since Sacha Baron Cohen is Borat again, that's just what makes it an automatic great sequel. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Oh, look, another sequel. This is like Bad Boys for Life. There were two Bill and Ted movies from the 90s, well actually the 80s. Okay, the original Bill and Ted movie, Excellent Adventure, came out in 1989. It was funny. It was a comedy about two bros who study history for their project by going back in time to different periods of the past so they can learn and, be excellent to each other. That's a great concept. And so much so, it was so popular, so enjoyable, that a sequel came out in 1992. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which was just about them seeing themselves dead, dealing with a Satan. I forgot the name. Either way, it definitely returned. Ever since those films, though, it seems that Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves have become much bigger as time. In fact, Keanu Reeves, nowadays when you think of Keanu Reeves, you think of John Wick or The Matrix. So you don't really think of Bill and Ted anymore. So it was weird seeing him return. But I gotta be honest, even though Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are now really old, they still perfectly portray the characters pretty well. Old or young, they're great roles. This movie has a lot of great action. I talked about Bill and Ted Face the Music before, so I don't really know why I should be saying so much. You already know. But I can say that this movie works perfectly as continuing the series, giving us something that we all need to see from this year. A sequel from something from the 90s. What more could you ask for? Have an adaptation from something from the 90s. A movie based on a video game. When you think of a movie based on a video game, you think of movies like Street Fighter or Super Mario Brothers, which are honestly some of the worst ever. With Sonic the Hedgehog actually being a really good adaptation. Yeah, I'm actually surprised this worked. You would think that Sonic the Hedgehog would be terrible adaptation because it's live action, but it really worked. Mostly because of the design. Let's talk about the design. The film was originally supposed to come out in November 2019, but there was a design that was shown in a trailer that fans criticized all over the internet. Everywhere you looked on the internet, you would find people criticizing the design of Sonic being so stupid and so terrible. I don't even want to talk about what it looked like. It was bad. So bad, though, that Paramount actually decided to delay the film to 2020 before delays became more popular, and the design changed. And what you see in the poster is a design that looks so awesome, so much better, so much more enjoyable. It's a design that really works. There's also, of course, a bunch of other great elements, because not only is the design great, but some of the side characters are great too. This movie takes place in the real world, so you think this would be a flop, but it wasn't, because seeing Sonic interact with real characters is much more enjoyable than we would have thought. Like, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is something that we all need to ask for. He doesn't look like Robotnik too much, but what makes it work is that it's Jim Carrey returning for the role. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is Jim Carrey at his finest. Jim Carrey in the 90s was something we all loved. He was a big comedy legend in the 90s. But after the 90s, as time went on, Jim Carrey's kind of started to change, turn to a different kind of actor, kind of lose the taste of comedy he had at the time. That is until this came out and Jim Carrey returned to his comedy we all know and love. In fact, he even got more respect on Saturday Night Live. As remember that Joe Biden sketch? So yeah, I think Jim Carrey returned in a great way because of this movie. A lot of stuff great happened in this. Is it the best movie of 2020? I wouldn't say so. There are still some flaws, but it definitely was a lot better than we would have expected. The release of HBO Max. The release of Peacock was okay, I guess, but the release of HBO Max was a whole different thing. It's much bigger now. This is gives us a variety of HBO. HBO has already had some streaming on-demand services like HBO Go, but those didn't really work too well. They kind of went bankrupt somewhat. That HBO decided to create a new streaming service called HBO Max, which gives us a variety of great movies and shows from HBO and Warner Brothers. There's a lot of great ones to find here. There are shows from HBO, like stuff like Game of Thrones is on here, but HBO also gets away with some non-HBO stuff, like they have Friends on here, or even South Park's on here. So that's great that they're able to come with more variety rather than just HBO variety. What about the movies? There are a lot of Warner Brothers films, but there's also films from Studio Ghibli. Remember that? The anime company. There's films from the original HBO channel, like Die Hard or Alien, that weren't even made by Warner Bros. But are from HBO's original network. So in all honesty, HBO Max is for people who love watching HBO 24/7. If you're a HBO binge watcher, you probably already have HBO Max. But if you're an HBO binge watcher who doesn't have HBO Max and is rich, I recommend getting it. It brings all the HBO Max joy to all the fans out there. And there's even more coming. Like a few movies that were supposed to come out this year from Warner Bros. Were delayed. Not delayed, but just moved to streaming. So films like Scoob or Wonder Woman 84 went to HBO Max. And I think some of the upcoming films will probably get a HBO Max release too. Either way, if you definitely should check out what HBO Max has to offer. It has a lot of great stuff to offer for us. The kick-ass Disney Plus variety. I say kick-ass variety instead of just, Disney Plus, because Disney Plus existed in 2019. It's just, it started in November, so it hasn't been that much. But when it started, it did have a good variety. It's just ever since 2020 started, a lot more has come out. Like, for example, films from Disney that were supposed to come out in theaters just didn't get delayed, just got moved to Disney Plus. Those being films like Hamilton, which worked, Soul, which really worked, and even Onward, which did release in theaters, but not for a while, because it was one of the last films to come out before the theaters started closing, so it went to Disney Plus early. Disney Plus is for those bingers who love the Disney variety on TV. Just click and watch. There's a lot of great stuff. There's films from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and a bunch of stuff from National Geographic. A lot of variety. And it's not just the originals that work. There's a lot of new other movies to come out and shows to come out too. But while we're still asking for more, Disney Plus can give us more. We just gotta wait much longer. I think Disney Plus has had a very successful year this year, and honestly, it should be successful for 2021 as so. But number one on this list is related to Disney Plus in some way, and it's kind of not really what everyone considers number one, but I consider it number one for weird reasons. The finale of The Mandalorian. Now, what makes the finale of The Mandalorian so special and so not original? Let me tell you why. The Mandalorian is honestly probably what many consider to be the best show on Disney Plus, and it's kind of like the show that makes Star Wars great, as it seems fans seem to criticize the Star Wars sequel trilogy when I personally enjoyed it. Okay, I understand what they're saying, but I don't get what's wrong with the sequel trilogy. I love it. Anyway, The Mandalorian definitely brings fans what they love. And with Season 2 release, there's a lot that changed. Like, we learned what Baby Yoda's real name is. Because before, we mostly just call him Baby Yoda or the child, but his name is Grogu, so now I think we might as well just keep calling him Grogu, because that's his name. There's a lot of new characters that came out, a lot of new elements, new character introductions. I think The Mandalorian definitely has aged really great, and is definitely not going to die anytime soon. But then when the Season 2 finale came out, it definitely ended the Mandalorian series in a great way. Why? Well, let's tell you what happened. Well, we now can think of Baby Yoda as Grogu, so that's one. A lot of characters get killed off in a strange way, that's two. And the ending is something that I think everybody should know. If you haven't seen the finale, I shouldn't spoil it, but if you still want to see the finale but haven't yet, you might as well just end the video right now. Just big spoilers. We have the appearance of Luke Skywalker. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't Mark Hamill too old to portray Luke Skywalker when this is set after Return of the Jedi? Well, I guess they probably just use CGI. I know I talked about CGI not working for characters in Rogue One, but this is different. This looks better. I think Luke Skywalker's CGI in this looks much more satisfying to look at because it looks much cleaner, much more realistic type. And I like what it does because we see Luke Skywalker take Grogu. Grogu says bye to the Mandalorian, who literally takes his mask off. Yeah, that's something. He actually takes his mask off. And Baby Yoda, I keep calling him Baby. I should just call him Grogu. I'm sorry. Grogu leaves with Luke and R2-D2, who also appears. And that's where the last we see of the show. But that's not all. Because when you think it's over, there's still a big twist, a post-credit scene, where we see Boba Fett come back as he actually survived the Sarlacc pit. I think a lot of Star Wars fans knew that from the beginning, but for those who didn't, it's a big surprise that he survived. But what did he do? Well, he went to Jabba's palace, shot everyone there, and has become the new leader. As they apparently announced that there's going to be a new series next December called The Book of Boba Fett. We're going to have to wait a while, but hopefully when it does come out, it's just as successful as this, because The Mandalorian has grew so much and has brought many Star Wars fans back to the joy of Disney. I'm serious, Disney is not ruining Star Wars. If you think Disney ruined Star Wars, watch The Mandalorian and you understand why. I love the sequel trilogy, so I don't get what they're saying, but I think there's a lot to think about with this as well. The Mandalorian is Star Wars at its finest, at least in 2020. Not really the number one finest, but for 2020 it is at its finest. You were expecting me to talk about the Lego Holiday Special. Well, I'm not talking about that anymore. I've already subbed it up. We're done. We're done here, okay? So now I just want to wish all of you a Happy New Year and a good 2021 to you, because I swear to God, I want a good 2021. If I don't have a good 2021, I don't know what to say. I'm sick of all these people coming up at me like this. God, I hate what people do to me. Now, as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm uploading a video, a review, because there is this one movie I saw in theaters and I'm going to review tomorrow. So be ready to watch the review, because you do not know what I'm reviewing. Wonder Woman 84, that's what I'm reviewing.